Who loves polling the most? Is there a country that loves it more than we do?
No, I think that
The British are getting pretty addicted, though, aren't they?
they're okay. They're always following their prime minister horse races, but they're not as addictive to polling. It's interesting. This book, Koreans actually love trend books, right? I think more so than almost any other hot. Yes, very.
That's
very,
a bestseller.
They absorb the trends. They snap up the rights right away. They do big PR.
What do you study to be able to be a pollster? Do you study psychology or science? Which?
Actually, I went to law school.
Okay.
So law school, you study arguments, which actually is a very important part of kind of understanding, how polling and message work. But it's a combination of knowing that, I always say it's half art, half science, because you have to understand the underlying statistics of polling and have a sound methodology, but you also have to have creativity in understanding, how people are thinking, what the questions are, and so it commands. There are only a few people in the field because it requires, I think, such a range of things, both numerical and verbal. I
enjoyed reading your book, and it's impossible to go through everything you had in there because it's packed. And but I pulled some of my favorites that I wanted to touch on, and then we'll get on to some other things. But the one that I really think shouts out, and as a single straight woman, I found this just really astonishing, that the homosexual trend you claim is ruining it for single straight women. You got to talk about that. I thought
I wanted to sell books, so the first section is about sex and romance. And the first section in the book is actually, some people call it popcorn. It's written in 75 kind of 2, 3, 4-page nuggets of different trends.
Yeah, but these are relevant things.
But they are. But I mean, you can read them, you can digest them. And so the first one is called Sex Ratio Singles. So it's very simple. I have not found anyone that actually did this exercise before. But in America, at birth, there are slightly more boys than girls.
Right.
I don't know exactly why. But then what happens in the late teens and early 20s is boys go to prison, they have car accidents, and they get shot. Okay.
And this number is skewed even more in the African American community.
So I didn't go through, but overall that's what happens. Then next we looked at every survey in America, and there were twice as many gay men as lesbian women in America. It may not be a global trend, but every survey we could find.
And an increasing number over the years.
Right. And so. Increasing numbers of also gays coming out and declaring themselves later on.
And even a trend of late breaking gays.
As you see with Governor McGreevey.
The McGreeveys of the world. Late breaking gays.
Somebody left their wife for another man is not as completely uncommon as you would think. But so then when you calculate this, when you calculate the straight sex ratio, it's 53-47. Which means there are 9 million more straight women than straight men. Oh. And so that's why we conclude
move to Alaska,
that it has absolutely It has absolutely nothing to do with how people are. It's the numbers. Okay.
It's the numbers.
And those are the numbers. If you were in the Old West, it would have been the opposite way around.
Another interesting thing about the gay population is that you say that this kind of goes into the baby boomer trend too, but that in the aging population, that it's more gay men who are the caregivers to their aging parents than anybody else.
Yeah, that and also people from China.
And people from
China. Who have more of a tradition of honoring parents.
Right, well that's not American.
Well, but then we're seeing more of a tradition of dutiful sons.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a very strong tradition of dutiful daughters for a long time.
But that
and
has
you're beginning
now
to see
a
little bit more. It was one of the smaller but evident microtrends that more and more. Look, there is more and more caregiving, for parents. Of course, there are more and more grandparents, as we point out, when the kids call up and say, "Can you babysit?" They say, "I'm busy, sorry," and that may even be as big a trend.
And of course, with the baby boomers, about to sail into the last stretches, it's down the way a bit, but this is going to be even more pronounced, you figure. Another interesting point you make before we get into sex was it takes 1% to make a trend. Or is that a micro trend?
Yeah, what we call microtrends, we said, look, and it's not a fully hard and fast rule, but we said, look, we look for things that were growing, and we look for things that were hitting around 1% or so. And the point of microtrends is that they don't have to grow. Like everyone here doesn't have to become a YouTuber for YouTubers to become important or significant.
Become a YouTuber.
And so what it's about is we're going from a world where there were 2 or 3 big trends to where there are hundreds of smaller trends, and where people are in fact making choices in their lives that are dominating, and that we're going from, you know, either socially or, you know, there's actually a new church every single day, and economically we're moving from what I would call the, you know, the Ford economy, which was you could have any color of car you want as long as it was black, and then to the Starbucks economy, where you can have mocha, frappuccino, you know, decaf, 180, where everything is extremely customized down to the individual.
Aren't we going to get tired of that soon?
No.
Choice, but
people like choice.
But they can get shut down by choice, can't they?
Yeah, some writers have done that, but I think that is, you know, when you look around, people dress so differently. We're in a world not just where the internet facilitates choice, where the means of production to make choice possible has gotten cheaper, but we're also, I think, on an individuality kick. I think that, you know, in the 50s, if your neighbor had a white fence, you would want a white fence. Today, if your neighbor has a white fence, you want a purple one, okay? Although with the historical restrictions, it will have to be
but you walk into a store and you're getting blasted with, you know, very loud music typically now, and you've got, you know, you may just want to get a toothbrush, something as simple as that, and then there's every different kind of toothbrush you can think of that has all different kinds of purposes. It can be confusing.
Well, the Boston Tea Party would be very different today from the number of teas.
You pointed that out.
But you know, I have been watching this music thing in stores, which is part of the point is for every trend there's a counter trend. For every group, you know, on the train now that wants to use their cell phone, they got to have quiet cars.
Quiet cars, right.
Quiet stores would be a good one.
I wouldn't mind it at all.
I find that they're...
I tell you, I can't hear myself think, and I won't name them.
You're probably on the cell phone and you got the background music.
No. I'm on the Bluetooth. No. Sex. One of the things I wanted to ask you, because you've got so many interesting things in there, but does an event like Elliot Spitzer and Kristen make more or fewer people want to go to prostitutes?
That I couldn't
think about it. But you know, this is
we
stuff
don't have that one in the book.
Yeah, but this is stuff you can think about. You can answer that right off the top of your head.
Yeah, we don't have that one in the book either way.
But what do you think? I mean, does something that makes the news like that affect a trend?
No, you know, trends actually are not so much driven by the news.
Do they come up from
They come up from the, you know, changes and developments. I mean, what we do have in the book, for example, we have the growth in cougars.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
okay. So I figured you had that one next.
Yeah.
But if you look at, we had older women now are increasingly going with younger men, just as you've had the flip. Right? And I think you got a lot more successful, more independent older men.
Is this concurrently why there are more younger men using Viagra than older men? Which I was really surprised when I read that. What is that about?
Well, you know, it's another trend. It's about usage.
And you say that I don't want to disappoint my staff, but you say that the office is the new singles bar?
Well, you know, what's happened is that most companies, and what we try to do in the book is point out kind of areas, most companies have policies on this, but 60% of people we polled have had one or more office romances. So there is a tremendous increase of romance at the office because obviously the office, you know, compared to 30 or 40 years ago was co-ed, and also people are getting married later.
Have you seen the TV show Mad Men?
No.
Oh, well, that takes you back to that era when there was much, I guess, office was definitely the singles bar. But where does something like that lead? If the office becomes the new singles bar, does that mean offices are going to be having to rewrite all their rules on dating within the office and marrying within the office? Exactly,
because if you have a policy, you know, if you have a policy, no tattoos, no dating, you know, within the office, it's not practical, you know.
Are we more puritanical now than in the past?
No, I don't think you're, well, I definitely don't think you're more puritanical. I think that, you know, the office romances are part of it, But I found the internet romances to be far more interesting overall.